Hello and welcome to your No Niche Breakthrough Framework walkthrough. That's a mouthful. I'm Courtney. I'll be guiding you through my workbooks today. And a lot of life coaches, mental health practitioners, and wellness experts come to me and hate the word niche. And you're told all the time to niche down, to figure out exactly the demographics of who you're talking to. And the problem with doing it that way is a lot of practitioners feel boxed in. And so, what I've created here is a framework where you can start to identify the client types that you want to work with that intersection of those that need your help, figure out how to talk to them in a way that makes sense, and also kind of guide them into their own kind of client journey with you. So, I am going to show you here on the left is the workbook that you will get, and you will make a copy of your own if you're in the Google Suite. If not, you can print this out as well, and there is a PDF version for you. And then this on the right is an example that I've created. And we're going to kind of run through this example. You will get a link to it so you can look at it on your own as well. So let's get started. The first thing that you'll want to do is start with your modalities and services. So this is really going to be about laying out your offerings, anything that you use with clients, things that are maybe informal or hard to name. They can be actual tools, therapeutic techniques, but they can also be simple things like mindfulness practices or certain breathwork techniques that you find yourself using again and again. This is the place that you're going to brainstorm all of that. So let's say that our person here on the right, they like to do talk therapy. You'll talk about what format that is. So that could be workshops, group, one-on-one sessions, what problems the modality solves, emotional processing, insight, regulation, and then how much do you enjoy using it? I think this is really important because what happens a lot of times is we use tools that we think make sense for our clients, but they're not always ones that we enjoy using. So we find it kind of being pulling teeth to have to feel like we're fulfilling it. So I like to do some type of 1 to 10 scale on how much you actually enjoy the practice. So, CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy informed tools, somatic awareness, breathwork, values clarification, mindful practices. I call it psychoeducation, but really just any type of information resources. And then what format and delivery that you can do these and how much you enjoy doing it. So that is what we'll start with. The next part here is going to be really identifying those strengths. So what services listed above do you feel the most confident delivering? So let's say, for example's sake, it's somatic awareness and breathwork, values clarification, and integrating insight with practical change. What services provide the best results? So this is really important too, because while there might be certain services and modalities that we really enjoy doing as practitioners, we also have to be mindful of what are the things that I've tried that have already provided the biggest results. Now, if you're newer to your practice or you haven't had a lot of client work, you can leave this blank or come back to it after working with a few clients. But these workbooks will be something that you'll use again and again. Okay, so once we've done that, we're going to start brainstorming our client. So this is really about those behaviors and mindsets, the challenges and frustrations, the motivation and goals. So instead of talking about, I help women ages 50 to 52 identify, X, Y, and Z, we're talking about those collective through line and the common denominator of things that your ideal clients are going through. So it's going to be identifying those. So you'll take the services that you've identified as high impact and as at least a 6 on the scale of wanting to deliver this service and put them on this chart below. Now, I've given you plenty of space so you can put as many of them here as you would like. But for this example, I'm going to talk about values clarification. So what are the behaviors or mindsets that values clarification help with? Well, if you have the overachiever mindset, ask me how I know. Or if you measure worth by output, ask me how I know. And so values clarification really helps that behavior, that mindset that your ideal client's going through. The next is challenges and frustrations. So, definitely lack of fulfillment. That's a challenge that values clarification can help overcome. Decision fatigue as well, prioritizing what they should do and when. And then, last, what would be that motivation or goal to actually perform this exercise? And that's going to be one's life to feel meaningful, not just successful. So, when you're talking to somebody about how, hey, we use value clarification, and if you're somebody who you only feel worthy when you're achieving goals, or you have an overachiever mindset, you feel like your life, you're achieving all these things, but there's this deep lack of fulfillment, then values clarification is going to help you. It's going to help you with life to feel more meaningful and to, feel more successful in your life, even when you aren't achieving. So that's kind of how you can take a service or a modality and talk about it to a potential client in a way that makes sense for them and doesn't feel like you're throwing a bunch of jargon at them about, we do somatic awareness and values clarification. It's more of, if you're suffering or dealing with this will help manage it, and then this is what will happen, your motivation or goal of the outcome. So that is what this section will help you kind of identify for your own modalities and services. So the next is going to be enjoyment and service response. So this is going to kind of help look a deeper dive and look into what are the client types that you enjoy working with. So the first one is name the client types or behaviors from the chart above that you enjoy tackling and working on. So things like this would be people that have motivation to change, high self-awareness, clients who value structure, but also like flexibility, willingness and to reflect and act. And then there are certain buckets of people that come up as a pattern. So if you find yourself typing out or writing out all these behaviors and challenges and motivations, there might be a through line that you can kind of see through these. So high performing professionals definitely fall into that bucket, or leaders, executives, entrepreneurs, people who appear fine externally but are depleted internally. So this is where you can kind of start finding that. Other ideas would be, parents seeking balance, or a professional struggling with overwhelm, which is kind of what we've talked about, or somebody going through a life transition, or those kinds of buckets of pattern behaviors or mindset challenges that you love helping people overcome. This is where you're going to start brainstorming that. So then from this brainstorm, what type respond best to each service? So do busy professionals respond well to breath work? Like, how can you connect those two things? So breath work definitely resonates strongly with busy professionals. It's something quick and easy that they can implement into their day and to start help them feeling that instant relief. Somatic tools that help clients who intellectualize emotions. That's another version. Value works lands with clients at career life crossroads. I've noticed a lot that once we can start clarifying those values, that they can start working through priority and or goals list based from that, instead of external goals like becoming a C-suite employee, executive. Okay, so now that we've kind of figured those things out, it's time to define your core client types. So a client type is not a niche or a demographic. It's a pattern of mindset, behavior, and need that your work naturally supports. And I know it's going to feel very similar, but just that little shift of thinking has helped so many practitioners that I work with stop overthinking and overanalyzing their niche or their demographic and kind of expand. Still have a large map of who you can help, but be able to explain it to somebody in a way that makes a little bit more sense for them. Okay, so for client type, let's do a version of this. People in leadership or high responsibility roles keep emerging. So I want to help support clients who are looking for relief and growth. I know I can get the most consistent results from clients who are driven but feeling totally burned out. So these are going to be those high level executives, right? That's who our example on the right hand side is starting to kind of map out. So naming your client type will be the second step. So again, this doesn't have to be a demographic. It can be something that is, okay, this is this client type that I keep coming to over and over again. So this could be the overextended caregiver, and that could be mothers or people that are caring for someone with chronic illnesses, or somebody in a caregiving employment position, maybe hospice nurses or nurses in general, or anyone like that. So that's what I mean by you're not saying, I help, nurses do XYZ, or I help overextended caregivers do XYZ. Okay, so then we have the high functioning but burned out professional, the anxious perfectionist, the parent seeking emotional regulation. So these are all kind of things that can start coming up for you. So I would only do 2 of these if you can, because what happens if you create too many of these and you're right back to where you started with feeling like, oh, I can help everyone, so I'm going to. And then what happens is your copy, your messaging, your content starts kind of speaking to no one and blending into the white noise that is, um, the coaching and practitioner space. So client type 1 is going to be a high functioning executive on the edge, is what we're calling them. Client type 2 is going to be a purpose driven professional in transition. So not only can you help somebody who is a high functioning executive on the edge, but you also purpose driven professionals in transition. So that could be entrepreneurs that are launching new offers, that can be executives that are looking to move into a different industry. So you kind of help them with that transition with the tools and modalities and services that you have. So once we have that, this is where the good stuff happens. So this is really how you talk about what you do. Again, we want your leads to feel seen, understood, and safe working with you. And that is why for the service-based practitioners, like what the space that we're in, I very rarely will say lead with pain points, because likely they're already in a heightened emotional state when they're coming to us, and we don't want them to feel even more heightened or pressured into making an emotional decision that later on they feel uncomfortable or wasn't right for them. So what we'll do here is talk about messaging, and that's not marketing copy. It's more like writing a message in a way that talks to the conversation that your leads are already having in their head. So what are they thinking? What are the thoughts that loop in their head? What do they believe about themselves or their situation? So some for this high functioning executive on the edge would be, I shouldn't feel this stressed. I'm too good at what I do. If I slow down, everything will fall apart, right? That constant self-imposed pressure, oftentimes, that I'm the link that's holding this all together, and without me, it's impossible. Other people rely on me, so I cannot let them down. If I want to get ahead, I have to work harder. I don't want to slow down. A lot of times when you're telling a high functioning executive to delegate or not do as much work as they're doing, that doesn't resonate with them, because they want to achieve. Achievement is part of their personality. They just want to do it in a way that doesn't mean they have to sacrifice everything else in their life. And so even though you know what they need is to delegate and to soften their workload, leading with that messaging isn't going to connect with them. Next is what they feel. So what emotions come up most often? Constant tension, quiet anxiety, emotional exhaustion, guilt for wanting more, ease, scared that they've made this life and cannot leave it. I say a lot of, looking for the escape hatch on the life that I've built. So that happens a lot where they follow the trajectory of their life that they feel like they needed to or had to in order to be successful. They've hit that success, that external success, and then they're deeply unhappy, and they don't understand why all the things that they thought was going to make them happy isn't making them happy. So these are the kind of things that you're going to start talking to. So that's not a C-suite executive at a tech company, right? That's not that demographic. That's anybody in that bucket that could be feeling that way. And there's so many different demographics that feel that way. So hopefully you're starting to see how that shift happens here. And then what they say. So interviewing is always going to be the number one way that I suggest doing this. I know a lot of people, getting on interviews and phones and calling people doesn't feel good, but doing that really will yield such a great messaging moment for you, even past clients or other practitioners, people that are in your space that can help you with phrases. So phrases that they use in conversation expressing what's going on with them. So I just need to push through this season. I don't have time for self-care. These are also a lot of objections that you need to overcome. I'm functioning, so I'm okay. If I focus on myself, those who rely on me will suffer. So these kind of thoughts, not facts. And then what they do. So how does this show up in their life? They work long hours to overcompensate because they don't know what else to do, but they know how to work. So they do that. They stay mentally on the time. All the time. They're checking their phone and email, even when they don't have to. They are putting personal needs and their personal life last, and they struggle to fully disconnect in any way, shape, or form from the work that they do. And so then this is what they want. And this isn't a surface level want, like I want to feel better. This is like deeper outcomes. So to feel steady and calm without losing their edge, their desire, their passion for more, to enjoy success instead of barely surviving it, to feel like themselves again, to enjoy the moment with loved ones, and to take care of their health for longevity so that they can do more, better, longer, right? So those are things that would speak to a high functioning executive that's kind of on the edge. And so that's what I want you to do for your client type. I've given you space for one, but if you want to do two client types, you can simply copy and paste this as a secondary matrix. Section 4, crafting your non-niche positioning statement. So these aren't going to be, I help women 40 to 45 do XYZ. These are going to be more about who you help, what you help them with, and why your work matters. So a formula would be I help client of behavior mindset type of client who problem challenge so they can desired outcomes. So I help high functioning professionals who feel constantly on, manage stress, and reconnect with themselves so they can lead with clarity, calm, and confidence. I love alliteration, so that's why I added that. But again, I help parents who feel overwhelmed by routines so they can confidently guide their family with balance and calm. And then you'll want to create some variations of this I help statement. One will kind of focus on behaviors, one to focus on motivations, and one to focus on their emotional transformation. The main message is going to be the one that you lead with when people say, well, what do you do? I am a life coach and I help high functioning, blah, 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 right? So these variations are going to be used for social media, for subtitles, for websites, for landing pages, and things like that as well. And service descriptions for Psychology Today and or any kind of referral source that you use. You can also use these I help statements. So a behavior focused one would say, I help high performing professionals who are always pushing through stress, learn how to regulate their nervous system and create sustainable balance. Variation 2 would be focusing on their motivation. So I help driven leaders who want success without burnout reconnect with what actually supports them. And then focusing on emotional transformation would be I helped overwhelmed executives move from constant tension to grounded, confident leadership. So those are all kind of saying the same thing, but they're focused on 3 different variations. Okay, so now we're going to do a quick summary, and this is copy and paste. If you have the doc, if you're writing it, you can just write it again here. And so the first part is going to be your core service and modality. So this listing your services that you feel the most confident delivering, and that these are going to be the tools that you build the processes around, which is the work that we're doing next. So this, for this specific example, was somatic awareness, values clarification, integrative, I always say that word wrong, coaching and therapy, but if you've been through life coaching, you know what that means, integrative breath work. And then you can do some optional secondary modalities. So CBT tools, mindfulness practices. This could be artwork or creativity, or if you lean into any of like holistic healing, or if you even use tools like human design is what I was thinking of. Even those kinds of things, if it's something that's part of your process, name it here. And again, they don't have to be in every offer. This is a toolbox, not a checklist. I've added that. So then from here, you'll choose a primary client type that you'll start with. And then, again, this is just a summary you're going to be pulling from the top. So the high functioning executive, their core mindset that we've identified as they're driven, responsible, emotionally contained. Here, write as much as you can. Don't feel like you have to just stick with the few things, but this is just going to kind of help get you started. The main challenge that they're trying to solve is chronic stress and burnout masked by high performance. And then their desired outcome is calm, clarity, and sustainability without sacrificing success. And then we'll talk about what do clients come to you for. And nothing like finding a typo right in the middle. Doing this. Okay. So clients come to me when stress is impacting their sleep, relationships, or focus. So a lot of times these executives won't come to you until it's getting in the way of something that they want to achieve, or they feel completely disconnected from themselves and their success. They're usually stuck between wanting relief, not wanting to lose control, drive, or productivity. So that would be some good messaging that you can kind of start with. And then they're ready for support because, like, why are they ready to come to you? They, like, what used to work no longer does. So maybe they used to meditate and now all of a sudden it's not helping, or they used to work out 4 times a week and now they're injured and can't, and so they need something else, or success no longer feels satisfying, or they cannot sustain the work and life that they've created for themselves. So but they don't know how to escape without, blowing up their whole life. Okay, so that's it. So you have totally completed the no niche breakthrough. If you need help, I have put a link here to book a call. If you need help going through any of this or talking through and getting some clarity, I am here for you.